Hello YouTube. The Elder Scrolls universe is full of interesting stories, from fun and uplifting stories to tragic stories. Unfortunately, the story that we will be talking about today falls in the latter category, as we will be talking about the story of Tamriel's very first vampire, Lamay Bal. What was her life story and how did she become a vampire? We'll talk about all that in this video. But viewer discretion is advised, as some parts of her story are quite traumatic. I won't be using any very explicit language because of YouTube's guidelines, so I won't be using some of the exact wording as it's stated in the lore, but it's still good to keep it in mind for this video. Alright, let's talk about Lamay Bal. So, Lamay Bal, or as she was named at birth, Lamay Bal. According to legend, she was the very first vampire to walk on the face of Tamriel, created by the Daedric prince Lamae Bal out of resentment to the cycle of life and death, as watched over by Arche, the god of life and death. Her story is very much a story of being at the wrong place at the wrong time, which makes what happened to her extra tragic. You see, at birth there was really nothing special about Lamay Bal. She was one of the Needs, the human progenitor race to the Nords, Imperials and the Bretons, and she lived in Skyrim somewhere during the Meretic era after the humans came to Tamriel. Presumably during the late Meretic era, as the humans of the North had already let go of dragon worship, so she most likely lived sometime after the Dragon War. There really was very little about her that made her special, except that she grew up to become a priest in the service of Arche, the god whose domain is the cycle of life and death. And she was unfortunate enough that she lived during a time where the Daedric prince Lamae Bal was looking to undermine Arche's cycle of life and death. You see, according to the legend, Lamae Bal was disgusted by how certain Arche was that all mortals, be it one of the races, animals or plants, all must one day find death and none should escape this cycle. So Lamae Bal was thinking of a way of how to put Arche's precious cycle to shame. And he had a plan, although it wasn't a pretty plan. You see, Lamae Bal entered the mortal plane himself, something which back in the Meretic era was a lot easier for Daedric princes, and he took the shape of a man. He then, as the legend describes it, took Lamay Bal from the Needs, meaning that he either kidnapped her from her Needic tribe or perhaps found her somewhere in the wilds. And I'm going to say this in a way that YouTube will hopefully be okay with it. He violated her body in an, according to legend, savage and loveless way, and in doing so he profaned her body and her spirit. It's said that her screams from doing this terrible and vile act still echo across Skyrim's plains, and it's said that these screams then became the shrieking winds that still haunt Skyrim's plains and fjords. After violating her body, he left her in a traumatized coma on Skyrim's plains, leaving her with a single drop of his own blood on her brow. It's in this near-dead and comatose state that Lamay was found by some Needic nomads on Skyrim's plains. These nomads tried caring for her and nursing her back to health. However, they were very scared of her because her wounds started to heal unnaturally quickly, and they could feel a strong corruption oozing from her body. So the elder of the nomad clan ordained that her body should be burned and purified, as that would be the best thing they could do for her. They built a pyre and set her on top of it. But as she burned, Lamay woke from her coma, and she awoke a vampire, and she had Lamae Bal's primal rage within her. Still on fire, she set upon the clan of nomads, and literally, according to the texts, she apparently ripped the women's throats out and ate the eyes of the children, and violated the men in the same way that Lamae Bal had violated her. This rage apparently endured for quite some time, and depending on how you interpret the texts, from her own violations she apparently became pregnant multiple times and spawned upon Tamriel other vampires and necromantic blood and many different abominations and creatures. It was after quite some time that she woke up from this primal rage and realized what she had done, and disgusted by what she had become. A creature in defiance of the cycle of life and death that she had served her whole life before Lamae Bal's intervention. So she tried to pray to Arche, begging him for help and begging Arche to relieve her of this curse, but Arche was silent and help did not come from her original patron god. This denial by Arche left her a strong feeling of betrayal, and as such she cursed Arche's name and accepted her fate as the first vampire and founding her own vampire clan. Now, something interesting here is that when Lamae Bal, let's say, transformed her, it seems like he didn't fully know what he was doing yet. You see, later vampires that he created personally all became what vampires call pure vampires, who can transform into vampire lords, as we can see in the Dawnguard DLC in Skyrim and in the Elder Scrolls Online. But with Lamai, he didn't seem to fully understand what he had turned her into yet, or perhaps he hadn't thought of giving her the power of transformation to a vampire lord yet. Because what he did to Lamai was in a way more interesting. You see, when he left her on the plains, he gave her a droplet of his own blood, which seemingly made her more powerful than your average vampire lord, as she herself got some power over those who are vampiric and share in her blood. The details are a bit hazy, but like we said earlier, during her rage, she was able to create vampiric creatures. And as such, she is also able to change fellow vampires and give them powers. For example, she created the power of the Blood Scion, a sort of imitation of the Vampire Lord blessing that Lamae Bal gives to his followers. And the Blood Scion has similar functions to the Vampire Lord, except that the Blood Scion is a power created and bestowed upon you by Lamai instead of by Lamae Bal. And that's an important distinction, because her personal vampire clan, who call her the Blood Matron, does not serve Lamae Bal. In fact, her own vampire clan, who all share in the blood of Lamai by having part of their own blood drained and then being infused with hers, curses both Arcade the Betrayer and Lamae Bal the Defiler, and they seek to thwart both of them. From her clan, other clans eventually split off, all not in alignment to Lamae Bal, creating independent vampire clans who both spit on Lamae Bal and the god Arcade. What happened to her over the ages, we don't really know. We know that she was still active in the Second Era and actively turning people and expanding her clan. And during this period, she specifically instructed her vampires to oppose Lamae Bal, which in the same time also gives you a reason as a vampire to be against Lamae Bal in the whole main questline of the Elder Scrolls Online, where of course Lamae Bal is the prime antagonist. Now, whether or not she got killed or destroyed at some point in the subsequent centuries up until the 4th era, we don't know. I hope no, because I think she could be a cool character to use in future vampire questlines, so I think that Bethesda might keep her around, but we don't know for sure. There's simply no information of what she's done after the 2nd era. But that was about all I could say about Lamay Bal, and I hope that you found this video informative at least, because probably not too fun. And I hope that I managed to teach you something new about the Elder Scrolls lore today as usual. Now, if I did, please consider giving the video a like, as that's how the mighty YouTube algorithm decides what content is worthy and what content is not worthy. And with that said, it's time to thank my top Patreon supporters: Mr. Bernardo Binda, Gabriel Binda, King Chris 20, Steve G, Volcure of Argonia, RB Dash, His Soul, Lexicon, Ranger, Komodo, Rakai, and Sordo Bushido. It's thanks to these people and all the others on screen, so my YouTube members and my Patreon subscribers, that this channel stays afloat, and for that I am very grateful. That said, I will see all of you in the next lore video. Bye bye.